Welcome, everybody. Today, we are speaking with Jay Lee, who is the sales ninja. He's going to talk to us all about how to crush the objections on your sales call and get people asking to buy and join at the end. This is going to be a great conversation, so stay tuned.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest.
Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. With us today is Jay Lee. Jay, why don't you just give us some background information about you and your business and what you do and how you help people?
Thanks for having me, Todd. And it's a pleasure to be here to speak to your audience. And I was a former introvert, a former pastor, a former banker, a lot of formers, reluctant and accidental evangelist, also a musician. So I lead musical worship in my church, and pivoted to high ticket sales because as a missionary and a pastor, I felt called to the marketplace or the workplace, if you will. And also it didn't help that my missionary funds were dwindling because my supervisor was saying that I was doing such a good job working myself out of a job that unless I moved to a residential remote area to be a pastor there, that my resources were running out. So I was desperate. I did a newspaper route here in Toronto, Canada, and I got a whopping $100 a month and wasn't able to make ends meet. So I ended up seeing an ad on a LinkedIn ad or a Facebook ad about business growth consulting. And they were not even looking for someone to get on their team, but I video messaged them on LinkedIn because I was so desperate. And I said, you don't know who I am and you don't really have any reason to pay any attention to me. But in the next 63 seconds, my goal is to be your right-hand man and to help do everything that you hate doing. And I'm willing to work for free. And so within, I think, 30 to 45 minutes, they got on a call with me and gave me an opportunity to work with them. And I just sat, like it was literally in Toronto, Canada. I sat by their workstation and I just learned high ticket, business consulting, high ticket sales. And then I started to get on the Zoom calls and was closing $50,000 to $85,000 a month. And then as the years went on, was doing about $100,000 to $350,000 a month in sales as a closer.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, that takes a lot of guts to be able to reach out to like that, just cold, and then work for free and learn the skills. But when I think back to how we built our business, getting started and all that, like we had no skills either. Like my expertise was I had a bachelor's degree in music education and I taught band for 3 years. Leah, my wife, she was a nurse. She had a nursing degree. That's kind of where we came at this from. And all we knew is that we wanted to stay home and make money online somehow.
Wow. A nurse and a musician.
Yeah. And it was, there's a steep learning curve. And you're right. We had to do things for free for the longest time, just pumping out content, kind of learning and teaching as we go. So yeah, that can be a huge hustle. So now in your business, what has that evolved into? Because I know right now you've got an incredibly successful business. What is it that you do and how do you help people?
Yeah, so I was doing high ticket sales, closing for a bunch of coaches that are, pretty well known in the industry. Typically, I was at least the first top 3 closers and cash collectors. And I had over 100 people in the 3.5 years recent that were asking me to close for them. So I couldn't close for all of them because I'm only one person. And then I reluctantly started my own business to help people increase their sales. And I had imposter syndrome. I had limiting beliefs. I had identity issues. I was a people pleaser. And I decided I'm going to start this business. And I'm going to show the world that nobody wants to listen to me. I don't have any value and I'm going to fail. It was a terrible mindset. And that was a 0 to 64K accidental launch in 30 days and then 100K in 100 days. And so since then, in about 2.5, 3 years, it's been $25 million in client revenue. My program is a group coaching program where I help sales ninja, I call them the Pro Accelerator program, collapse time and make sales without sounding salesy, sleazy, or making prospects sleepy with boring offers, which is where we're going to be talking about the webinar with, really, really irresistible Godfather offers that sell like crazy. And so I've been able to do that for the last, let's say, almost 3 years in January to help people really get their offers off the ground or take their existing offers and scale them into multi-millions.
I like that you bring up the whole mindset part, because I think jumping on a sales call is probably one of the scariest things people are doing if it's the first time you're doing it. And especially if you've got a high ticket offer at the end and you know it's coming and you know at some point you're going to ask them for a bunch of money. That can bring up a
So true.
Yeah. So why don't we start kind of at the beginning? So if somebody has got a high ticket offer and maybe right now they're not so successful at selling it, what are some of the most basic things that we need to start with as far as getting good with sales calls and what we need to focus on to just maybe make our first couple sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first part, like you said, Todd, is like the mindset. A lot of people that I coach, and it's been over 500 plus, is when I was doing 2 sales psychology masterclasses per week, every week, and out of the hundreds of coaches that I've been able to train, the biggest and the most frequently asked question was like the worth. How do I charge high ticket when I was charging $25 an hour for my service? Some would be even outrageous and say, I'm charging $200 for a disc assessment. And one of my clients was like, I can't even sell that. I can't even get people to do that. And I would take their offer and make it into a $20,000 offer instead of a $200 offer. So when you say, how do you get better at sales when, if they're doing their first sales, they're not really good at it, they don't know how to do it. The first part is in the mindset of that whole belief. Do you really believe that you can help people? And if not, do whatever you can to invest time, energy, resources, money to be the best that you can at mindset, at health, at wealth, at life coaching, whatever it is that you do. Refine that skill so much so that people are asking you for the help that you provide by bridging the gap to the solution that they're facing. So how do you know? Well, people continue to ask you for counseling. People continue to ask you for how do you lose weight. Then you have a skill set or superpower that people need. And then as you collect more testimonials, video testimonials, case studies, screenshots, results, and you're closing at, let's say, 20 to 30% consistently over the last 10 calls, and you've already got social proof, then you can incrementally increase your price to a high ticket price. Some people say 1,500, some people say 3,000 to 5,000. I'm saying at least a couple thousand, maybe $3,000 or more could be a high ticket price. I just got off a call with a gentleman who I said, that's going to be about $150,000. He's like, okay, that sounds reasonable. And it's because he saw the value. But mind you, when I was a pastor missionary, I'm like, hey, so Todd, if you and Leah are good to sponsor me as a missionary, would you consider sponsoring me as a missionary for $10, $20, $30, or $50 a month? That's what I was scared of asking. And now I'm saying that's going to be $150,000, or that's going to be $60,000, or that's going to be $25,000 to get started.
Wow. Yeah. And so the idea here is that we're not starting out with a $20,000 offer right off the bat. We're starting lower until we kind of build up that confidence, get the testimonials, and then as we see the close rate where it needs to be, we incrementally increase the price. Is that right?
100%, because we cannot outcharge people what we cannot actually deliver. Because I think that's what people are concerned about. All these overnight coaches or gurus, so-called experts, that charge the money and they're like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then they don't deliver. Or even if they're there, they're not able to help you transform your life, lose weight, make money. For me, like, I wanted to under promise and over deliver. And so I'm an anti-sales guy. So I'm like, hey, Todd, you're probably not going to want to work with me because we're not the most affordable, but we are very good at what we do. And if you're willing to be coachable and you're willing to take massive imperfect action and you're willing to put time into this, we can definitely help increase your lead to booking ratio. We can help you close out a higher percentage with you and your team, cash collected, if you're at 15%, we can definitely boost that up as high as some of our clients have been able to get to 60. In my own closing experience, I got to 94.15% for 2 consecutive months, and then 73% the month before. So we definitely can improve that 15% cash collected rate for sure.
I like that concept of just kind of incrementally raising your price as the close rate is there and as the testimonials come in. I know for us, especially when we started to get into the high ticket price range, because you mentioned, if you're confident in your offer and you know that you can help people. I know for us, when we were first starting out, we had the confidence that, the offer was good. Like, we knew that it worked for us. We knew that other people were doing it and they were successful with it. But for us, like, the disconnect was, I don't know if this client can do it. Like, I don't know if I teach it to them, are they going to get it? Are they actually going to implement? And that, for us, that was like the kind of the scary part. But the way that we got over that was when the testimonials started coming in. And that's what gave us the confidence of, okay, the connection is there, right? We're teaching it in a way where they're getting it, and the people that we're bringing in are actually implementing it. They're getting the result, and now we've got the testimonial. And for us, that's what really gave us the confidence to start raising the price.
Yeah, you got some of the best testimonials in the class. I've seen your testimonials. The one that really stood out was the guy who bought a Maserati, right? That was, man, that's I love that one. That's so good. And Leah herself says, from going from 20K months to 200K months was the art of storytelling, right? And people remember stories. So that I listened and watched those videos, and I saw the testimonial. I'm like, these guys are so good at what they do.
Yeah. Thank you. Like you said, we definitely had to work our way up to that though. Because we 100% had the imposter syndrome. We had already sold 7 figures, multiple 7 figures in online courses before that, but it was all like the lower ticket stuff. We had never charged somebody more than $1,000 for anything in the past. So even getting into the high ticket space from that, we still had the imposter syndrome. So I love that you bring it up. And the other thing is that it's not just guessing. You mentioned that you're looking at your close rate and you're looking for that, 20 to 30%, you're closing 20 to 30% consistently over a certain amount of time, and then you raise your price. And I think that's so important, is that you need the numbers to back up and justify that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know that you mentioned your offer in there. Part of this has to do with, putting together a great offer. And I know that one of the philosophies out there is to come up with, what they call, quote, a scary offer, and to like make these huge promises and back it up with a huge guarantee. And I know that can work for a lot of people, but I'm curious, what is your opinion on that? Is that something that we really want to dive into? Or, and is that something we can make work, or what do you want to do?
So, and you could probably relate to this, Todd, is not even that long ago, there was the hook and the offer and the guarantee that was like the recipe for success in coaching, right? And now the FTC has put some penalties, like multi-million-dollar fines on these guarantees and these so-called promises, because a lot of people lost a lot of money. A lot of people are not getting the results, not getting the transformations. So there was a day and an age where the huge promise and the huge guarantee worked. There are still people doing it. There's even fewer people that can actually deliver on it. For me, like, I don't put these huge promises or huge guarantees. I did, like, in my mind, I'm a 10Xer, right? So if you're 100K months, my whole goal for Todd and Leah is like, okay, $1 million months might take us like 29 months, but we have a blueprint. We just got to reverse engineer it. If we can triple their show rate from 30 to 94% and increase their lead flow by triple, we can get into 1 million a month in probably like 24 to 29 months. So I know I've been able to do that, but I think, just like you, the disconnect would be, do I know if my client can do it as well? So there's that portion that's always a big concern. So my philosophy is the anti-sale, which is like, I try to undersell it and discourage people from coming into my program and make it hard. Like, I just signed on a 60K client today, right, this morning from Belgium. And I said, listen, she's signing up again, and she hasn't been able to take action in the last year, even though she paid me a lot of money, right? I'm like, to make this even more hard, difficult for you, number one, I know you're coachable, but number two, you haven't taken any massive imperfect action. I showed up, I shared the strategies, you haven't taken the action, and it's not a judgment. It's just an observation. So I can't take you on as a client if you're not willing to take that action. So I want to hear your will, your volition, and a verbal, yes, I'm ready to take massive imperfect action, or else we're not going to join today. We're not going to continue. And she's like, I want this more than anything. It's just these are the 3 things that held me back. they're off the plate now and I'm ready to go.
Wow.
So yeah,
There's such a difference between that because I mean you've got people now asking you for the sale, right? You didn't even have to present it. You didn't have to say, okay, are you ready to buy and join? Like, can you please, you're not begging. It's people are begging you to be able to get your service. So I'd like to really dive into exactly how we do that. So during the sales call process, what are you doing to kind of lead up to that point? I know people have different philosophies about the questions you ask and your posture and things like that. How are you starting out the sales call, and what are you doing from the time the person shows up to the call to the time when you're about to drop the offer?
you're a smart guy, and I know what you're doing so well because of the way you're asking questions. So good. I pick on these nuances. So what you're doing really well that maybe for the people listening to the podcast is Todd is asking excellent open-ended piercing questions, which don't result in a yes or no, which is a closed question, which is like, so you seem to be doing that really well. Is that right? I'm like, I only have an answer that can be yes or no, or maybe, right? Which doesn't really get the conversation rolling. But I use something called the reverse glass selling method. And the glass is a 5-word acronym for give first, G. L is listen well. We've lost the art of listening because sometimes we just want to listen so that we can get our agenda and do a pitch fest. I don't do that to try to make the sale. And then A is ask open-ended piercing questions, which is what, when, where, how, and why. So what have you tried? Where have you gone to get the solution? When are you looking to get this solved? Why do you want to get this, 10K or 5K a month? How do you plan on doing this by yourself if you want to move forward? And how long is that going to take? So that is a deeper open-ended questions where you can really get to the pain, problem, desires, and dreams. I call it the PPDD framework: pain, problem, desires, and dreams. And you move them along that, but focus on the pain, because the dream and desires doesn't matter until you remove the pain. The last two S's is sincerely handle objections up front. So you do it well by putting the VSL up front, watch these 4 videos. Now I understand your process. I understand your testimonials. I understand that this is what you're expecting on even this podcast. That is sincerely handling objections up front so that I don't have questions when we're in the call. I do the same thing. And then the last one, which is serve with humility. And it's based on 1 Peter 3:15. I was a pastor for 10 years. Is always be prepared to give an answer for the reason for the hope that you have, but do so with gentleness and respect. So on any and every call that I get on, I come as a first-time student. I'm always going to learn something from anyone, even if I know more than them. And then number 3, whether it's a sales call, whether it's a discovery call, whether it's a complimentary audit call, all I'm here to do is serve you, Todd, and Leah, your wife, at the highest level without any exchange in place. And then people typically say, wow, in this 15-minute, I had one guy literally join this week, and in 12 minutes, it was just an audit call. He said, you've done more in 12 minutes than I've had with the last 3 coaches that I've paid $35,000, $36,000. And I'm like, I can't be that good. Come on, 12 minutes, that's hard to do, right? And then he says, we got 3 minutes. Can you tell me in 2 minutes what your offer is? I'm like, that's not what this call is for. But again, selling without selling, and sale without asking for the sale. So he's asking me and asking for permission. And so I gave him a 2-minute sound bite, and I said, we probably need to jump on another call next week because I'm not able to explain it in full. We got on a call this week, and he says, I can't join your program because XYZ. I'm like, okay, great, no worries. And then before the end of that call, he enrolled. True story.
Oh, that's funny. I love that.
Which is handling objections, which we can talk about if you want.
Yeah. And it's funny because we've had that happen too. Because I love what you said about you're handling it as not as a sales call where the only objective is to get them in your program, but you're providing value within that call as well. And I know that for us, when we really focus in on just that one aspect and we get to there, like you said, what have you tried in the past? Why hasn't that worked? Even within that call, say, okay, yeah, well, the reason why that hasn't worked is because this, that. And we coach them a little bit through the process. We're not giving them a solution, but we kind of help them to understand why they're having the problem and why that hasn't worked, which I think is a really big part in kind of getting them to the sale at the end. But people find so much value in that. And there's going to be that reciprocity at the end versus when you focus just on what your offer is and how great it is, you can do a sales call like that. You can close some sales, but you're not going to get to those super high close rates. You're not going to get that by trying to shortcut the process like that. So I love what you're doing with the sales call process. Now, when we get to the end, is there anything that we need to do before? Because I know that we have some things that we do before we even present the offer. Do you always present the offer, or are there situations where you get to the end of the call and you don't present the offer, or what are we doing kind of at that pivot point between you've asked them all the questions, you kind of got all the information you need, and now we're about to talk about what you do and how they can buy and join?
Yeah, great question. So typically, I don't even present the offer until they ask, and that's a hard thing to do if you don't understand sales. And the nuance and the secret sauce on digital trailblazers is this: when you exhaust the open-ended questions of what, when, where, how, and why, and then when kind of like that has all been answered, you got their pain point. And then typically people will say, now can I share my program with you or my offer? That's typically the segue. And then I don't do that. I'll say, what else have I not answered for you? And then people typically, when I've done a really good job of handling the objections up front, sharing the transformational results and case studies and how my program works, they say, you know what? It seems like you've answered everything. And the next step would be to share what your program is, what the investment looks like, and if you have payment plans, because it seems like it's going to be expensive. People typically say, it seems like it's gonna be really expensive. And this is the key, is like when you share a value that's so high and results that are so transformational, people know that the price point increases exponentially because of your business acumen and your ability in live calls to actually coach them in real time to help them get the transformation and experience what it would look like to work with you. And they pick that up in terms of like their body language, their energy, all that stuff. And they typically say, it sounds very expensive. It sounds like incredible. So I do a litmus test. I say, Todd, Leah, just be honest with me. I'm a big boy. Based on what you heard about what I offer and how my mastermind works, 1 out of 10, where 1 is like, what a waste of my time. I can't believe I gave you, 14 minutes of my time or 45 minutes of my time. To 10 is like, you knocked it out of the park and you actually exceeded my expectations. I'm just curious because I'm always trying to look to improve what we're talking about and how we help understand what we do. And people typically say 10 or 12 or whatever, right? Sometimes they'll say like a 4 or 7. I'm like, okay, whoa, that's a pretty bad grade for me. So what part of it can we improve to help you move from a 4 to a 10 or 7 to a 10? And almost every time they say, oh, no, that's not your program. That's where I'm at mindset wise, or that's where I'm feeling like imposter syndrome because if I join your program, am I going to be able to really take the action because of my time is limited and da-da-da. So it's usually almost always on them, not me and my program. So then I provide value and ask the questions where they're exhausted. And then they typically say, what next? Or how do I learn more about your program? And then it gives me permission to share. And then if there's a price objection, then I work it into like payment installments. If worst case scenario, even the cap, because I've talked to a lot of people who are very cash strapped, but it's a 10 out of 10, then I'll say, listen, what we can do is we can do a deposit or we can do an initial one-on-one call. I don't usually coach per hour, but for a gazillion dollars or whatever it is, you can get a one-on-one call with me for a 60-minute power session. And what I want to do is I want to earn your trust to see if I can help you get some micro wins in the first call. I literally got off a call with someone today that I met in Aruba, and she's got some big entrepreneur mentors that you and I both know. And I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus here. And she said that from the one thing that you told me at the dinner conversation in Aruba, I actually closed my first client yesterday.
Wow. Nice.
And it was because of this strategy that you just taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Neat. Yeah. Now that idea of grading at 1 to 10 before you kind of move on, what happens if they say, it's a 7 and you kind of dig and you say, okay, so why 7? And they come back with something like, well, I'm not sure that this is really need what I want because I've tried something like this in the past and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I say I would do some reverse psychology. I say that's 7. That's pretty decent. Like, I mean, that's a respectable grade for many people. Why were we not a 3? and then what they would do is like, well, you were actually really good. You're very, funny. You're very pleasant. I actually like you more than the coach that I'm working with. To be honest, you're more relatable. I was a pastor, so I've gotten some experience. And then we just talk. And then I would say from there, so what is the missing gap between 7 to 10? And then they would say, well, we were hoping to get more support, or we were looking to solve the marketing engine, or we were looking to, see if there's any bonuses where you had maybe some automation tools that could help us with lead generation, blah, blah, blah. Like what they have different reasons, right? And then worst case scenario, we're not a good fit and I can't actually help them. In that worst case scenario, I say, you know what? We're not a good fit. Todd and Leah are friends of mine that do a better job in XYZ area. Would you be open if I did a three-way introduction? Because they're actually much better at the parts that you're needing help in that I'm not actually a specialist in. So I'd be happy to make the referral. And I do that all the time. And then for the other people who said that they need more support, then I'll say, listen, if you just need more support, I can, as a fast action bonus right now, in the 3 months, instead of just giving you one onboarding call, I'll give you 3 calls, which is the onboarding, a 30-day battle plan, and then month 3, I'll give you a bonus call. And those are all valued at $2,500 an hour each.
Nice. Yeah, I love that, being able to customize that based on what they're, the feedback they're giving you. And I like that idea of, being able to refer them to somebody else that can give them what they want too, because I know that we've done that in the past. We've got, we've had people come in that are looking, much more for a done for you agency type of thing, which we could do, but we don't want to. But we know people who do that. And so we'll often make those types of referrals. Or even if it's, because I know you're Christian, we're Christians as well. There's some people that come in and they've got programs that they've put together that really, just as a matter of, our faith and our ethics and our morals, that we just would not feel comfortable putting our own personal time and efforts in helping them to market. And that's not a judgment against them, because, we wouldn't be having the call if we didn't believe that they were sincere in wanting to help people, but it's just not in alignment. And so we have other people that we can refer them to that would be willing to help them with marketing that as well. So I know that just as a matter of faith, sometimes things just aren't in alignment. One of the other things I think people struggle with is nervousness over presenting the price, right? When after they've got done explaining everything and now it's time to drop the price. Are there any special things that you do when you drop the price on people? I know that you mentioned a fast action bonus. Do you have a higher price if they join normally and then a fast action price if they join now? Or how do you present that?
Okay, great question. I think it really determines on the scenario. So let's say, I don't know, let's say for a VIP, it's $100,000, just for easy math sake. And they know that the value is there. They know that I'm going to have collect time, but cash strapped, they've just paid their mortgage off, they're debt free. They're buying another car for their wife. That's an upgrade. And they see the value because they know that they can make the money back, which may take a little bit of time, but they're going to make money on top of that. So I would say things like, where are we from 1 to 10? And they say that you're at a 9. If we did a VIP and you're only seeing us twice a month, if you had more proximity, then that might help. I just ask for clues, saying what would help make a decision today. Because I don't know if I can do it. I'm not going to play easy to get, if that makes it. I'm going to play hardball and say, I don't know if I can do this, Todd or Leah, but what would it do to help you make a decision today? So you'd be like, well, if we can get like a done for you lead gen system that you talked about that, you're charging a lot of money for the first month. So we can try to test it out, and that would be you absorbing the cost, obviously. And then after that, we're willing to pay for it. And I would calculate in real time, like, how much would that cost me to pay my team to do that? Let's say it was like $5,000 or whatever, or $2,500. Then I'd be like, is it worth getting a $100,000 client for that? I'd say in this scenario, if you're a good fit and I know that I can help you scale, and if even there's a rev share, that's even better, then I'd say, you know what? We can do that. I'm actually willing to do it for 3 months. Okay. And I'm actually willing to give you an extra bonus call every single month. So instead of 2, it'd be 3. So I'm going to make it over and beyond what you asked. So instead of 1 month, you get 3. I'll pay for all the costs for that. It's like ad spend for my team, but it's organic. And then for the coaching, I'll give you for 12 months an extra call every single month. So it's not just 1 extra call, it's 12 extra calls.
I love that concept of customizing the offer to the client's needs, because I think what so many people do is they have just a set offer and a set price, and they'll even advertise it on their website before they jump on the call. And I think that really pigeonholes you into it's either fit or it isn't. People may have resistance to it at that point. And so at the very least, I would say probably don't want to publish your price on there, because if you publish the price and they ask for other things, or, you need to customize it later on, there could be some resistance. We do a little bit of that, but I don't know that we do it to the extent that you're doing it. We may have to look at what we're doing now, because I
100%. I can look at your stuff and provide some thoughts, but the goal in me working with you, like for $100,000 VIP client, is I don't even just want your money and this transaction. I want a LTV. I want a lifetime value of a relationship where I can be a growth partner. And let's say I work with like 5 companies like you, instead of working with 100 people and doing group coaching. If I charge like $100,000 per year, and you could be paid up front, and I have 10 clients, that's 1.2 million. And let's say, we do like 2 or 3 calls a week. I want to golf every single day at a private club. I want to express my faith with missions trips. I want to serve the church. I'm a musician as well. So I want to make sell more to give more. I sell as much as I possibly can to give as much as I possibly can, but not have my time. But if I work with amazing dream clients like yourself and Leah, then I don't have to work with 100 people. I can just work with 10. So I'll be your growth partner. So I want to look at doing either a super high ticket or a high monthly retainer plus rev share, because if I can help you go from 100,000 to $1 million a month, and I take, let's say 20% or 10% or whatever we discussed that was agreeable, and let's say you make an extra $900,000, I just take 100,000 of that, which is 10% or whatever. So then you're like, hey, we're happy taking that 100,000, and you continually helping us automate, make better decisions with our hiring, recruiting, our scaling, buying back our time. Cha-ching, Dan Martell, shout out. And really running a more efficient, effective business.
Now, when you drop the price, what do we do when we come up with money objections? Because I think this is probably one of the biggest objections, especially when you're talking to high ticket. It's probably one of the most common things that people run into is people are 10 out of 10. They love the program. They love everything about it. And then suddenly it's a price and it's like, I need to think about it. I'm not sure if that's going to work. I'm not sure if that's in my budget, or maybe I got to look at that at the beginning of the next quarter, whatever else it is. What do you do when you come up against the money objection?
So smart. Love it. Okay. So I had a scenario that happened today. A lady who was making 6 figures in her corporate business, but she was really stuck and wanted to be out. She literally called me from her office, and it was like, she looked like she really wanted out. I said, blink twice if you need help, right? And she's like, I want out. I just can't stand this. And she was going to enter and join my program. We were supposed to get in a call, which she canceled, which is always a bad sign, which means they got cold feet, or there's an objection or something. But she was like, it's not a sale till it's a sale. But for a lot of people that I coach, or a lot of people that I know, they're like, hey, it's a done deal, got it in the bag, it's going to be a sale. I said, it's not a sale till it's a sale, even if it's 99.9%, which this one pretty much was. And it happened to be that her husband needed some major surgery, and they were just cash strapped. And she's like, I trust you. Your testimonials are amazing, out of this world. And I would like to have the opportunity, even if I have to pay a higher price. So this is typically what happens as an objection, unless they're completely broke and just cannot afford it. And that happens quite a bit too. But I also add scarcity offer, which is, I don't usually like to do that, but when you put a light behind under someone's tail, it gives them the incentive to say, hey, this person's seriously committed to me, to helping me transform my business, right? Otherwise, if I didn't care, I'd be like, okay, no worries, right? And just let it go. So I'll say, hey, Todd, no worries. We'll do a fast action offer. And instead of the $100,000, and if you and Leah are ready to go, I want you guys to pray about it. I know you guys are Christians, so I'm going to give you till end of day, not today. I'll give you to tomorrow, because at the end of the day, a transaction is not going to change my life, but I believe it could transform yours. So if you're ready to start tomorrow by end of day, I'm going to do a fast action bonus, and the $100,000 is going to only be $60,000, because I'm committed to believing in you to get you the results that you want. And my whole secret agenda is to work with you for the lifetime value to help you grow and scale. And I want to be a growth partner. I love what you guys are doing. I'm a huge advocate of what you've already done. And I'm very confident I can help you guys to scale your business. So I'm willing to take a cut off of my margins to show you that I'm serious about committing to yours.
Do you ever break that up into payment plans, or give them other ways to pay, or other financing options?
Yeah, 100%. So let's say if for easy math, it's $10,000 for group coaching. I always do financing or payment options that are more expensive than, like, I wouldn't do 2 pay at 5K. I would do 2 pay at 6K. I do a 3 pay at 4K. I like always make them pay more. Like if you draw it out 6, payments and the program is 3 months, I don't want to do accounts receivables. I don't want to collect, right? Not that I have to, but there are the few people that kind of are in that place where they do that. So typically I say the most I can do, Todd, is a 3 pay, because a lot of our clients mostly are doing 1 or 2 pays, but I want to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you a runway to break out the payments to make sure that you're getting your ROI back and we're making money on top of it.
Do you ever use like third-party financing?
Yes, and no. I've worked with coaches that a lot of them do through third parties. In Stripe, you can use Klarna and Afterpay as well now. I don't know if you're aware of that. I just found that out. But in Canada, unless someone else can tell me, I have not been able to find a good financing company yet, because my company is based in Canada, and there's a lot of advantages if you have a US based company for business lending, capital funding, et cetera, et cetera. So there seems to be a lot of either red tape or restrictions. I was just talking to another gentleman who does business lending, and he said, "Oh, you're in Canada. We actually don't help people in Canada." So there's a couple of challenges that I'm facing. So if I had that opportunity, I think I can close another 20-30%.
Yeah, I know that we use it. We've had experience with both coach financing, or what is it? Yeah, coach financing.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the other one is Ease Consulting. I swore at least one of them worked with Canada. We're pretty happy with both of them, and they're both very similar as far as pricing and things like that. But we've worked with both of those. Klarna, we've used Klarna before as well for some of the lower ticket stuff. And even like PayPal credit, I think it's like 6 months, 0% interest. So that's sometimes what we can offer people as well. I know that for a while, there was, I think, American Express Blue Card, a credit card people.
Yes, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was like 13% or 13 months, 0% interest. And they could get approved like immediately, and they can have their credit card number within a day. And so I know for some people that was an option as well. I don't know if that's still around or not, but I know for a while we were doing that too. So there's a lot of ways that I think you can get creative with things like that. Obviously, our last preference would be doing a payment plan where we have to do the financing and chasing after payments ourselves if they miss or something like that, which is why we prefer, third-party financing whenever we can.
Because you get the whole amount up front, right? And then they got to pay the payments. Oh, that's smart. So what's the fastest that people can get approved with financing, coaching, the things that you use for business financing?
They get the decision usually within a few hours. And then when the decision comes in, depending on which one you're working with, coach financing or Ease Consulting, the process is a little different about how they actually get funded and everything. But there's usually a longer application that they have to fill out later on. And then there's some due diligence. And then after they get the final approval, it's another 2 or 3 days to actually get funded and everything. So, the whole process together may take 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how fast the actual client is moving and getting the information in.
What percentage do you think it increases your close percentage by offering the coach financing?
It really depends on the credit score. That's typically the sticking point for a lot of people, because if they're really cash strapped, they need a credit score of a certain rate. They do have plans where everybody gets approved at some level, even with a really bad credit score. It's not as advantageous for you, and they take a much larger cut when it is a subprime. Yeah. So there's ways that you could do, 100% of people get approved. But sometimes the rates and everything are just so unattractive that people just don't go forward with it. So it just really depends. So yeah, so that's a money objection. I know that's one of the most common things. I know with the process that you have, and we've got a very similar sales call process. That's almost always the only objection we come up with. But I know sometimes other people may have objections like, now that I think about this, we do get this objection sometimes. I need to think about it. Like I need a day. I don't make decisions right on the call. I need to think about it, kind of sleep on it. And I know this looks great and everything, but I just need some time. How do you handle that? Is there anything special you do to handle that type of an objection?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've actually changed my stance over the years because I've been coached and trained by different people and mentors. Some people that were like 8-figure plus coaches were like, hey, this is why we're on the call. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. And some of the coaches would be like, if you miss a call, you don't get a second chance. And also like when we're on the call, they frame it where, hey, so Todd and Leah, if we can help you move the needle in your business or help whatever challenge you're having to help you generate more leads or help you increase your close rates or help you collect more cash or help you grow a group or a community that is, going to help you grow your business or whatever their challenge is, and it makes sense to you to make actual steps forward, would it be fair to say that we can help you make a decision that's best for your company? That's either yes or no, whichever you decide. That's a fair question, I think, because they still have an out, which is a no. But at the end of the day, we don't want to have like a time, money, talk to Python partner objection, because we just want to help them make a decision. So I think there's something that's very powerful about that. And then there's people who need to think about it. I think people have to pray about it. Like the one lady today, she needed to talk to her husband and pray about it. So typically what I do with those is talk to a partner or spouse is I say, hey, where's your partner right now? And they'll be like, oh, one was sleeping on the couch. She was pregnant. She's like almost 9 months pregnant. I'm like, I know this sounds crazy, but this is a very important, you've been struggling with this problem for like the last 28 months. And I don't want to go another day, especially with you having another child, where you haven't solved this problem. So what are the chances? Remember, listen to my question. What are the chances? So this is an open-ended, piercing question. Instead of, can you wake her up? What are the chances of your wife wanting to hear about this and how we can help you move forward so that you can provide for your newborn child? And he says, I don't know, it's highly unlikely, but I can try. I'm like, okay, so there is a chance, 0.01 chance, right? Percent chance. And they go over, this is a true story, woke her up and she's like in a daze and she comes on and she is not happy because she's like pregnant and she's not feeling well. I'm like, okay, Leah, I'm really sorry to bother you. This is all Todd's fault. And I'm not here to actually try to persuade you against your will. I'm actually going to ask Todd to present the offer that he feels convicted could help your family move forward, to help you make the money that you need to provide for your children, your third child as well. So, and then I let the person present and say, babe, no, and they do the spiel. And in this scenario, the wife left the room and I was like, and he's like, babe. And she goes, I already told you, you have the autonomy and authority to do what you need to do. So I like the guy, he seems pretty nice and trustworthy. So if you want to do it, go for it.
Nice. I think one of the things that we had to learn was being able to confront those objections like head on. Because a lot of times you'll get into the situation where they're kind of BSing you. They know that they're BSing you. Like everybody knows what's going on, but kind of pretending like it's not happening. But if you can get good at just kind of calling that out and say, okay, why don't we deal with this right now? Right? Rather than kind of pretend like we need to get off the call, we need to think about it when we know that this is a problem we could solve right now. Why don't we just solve it right now? I think there's a lot of power in that. Are there any circumstances where you would say, okay, if you need to think about it, it's something that you need to dwell upon, or you need to pray about it, whatever it is, why don't we follow up tomorrow? Is there any time when you would actually just say, okay, let's follow up later? Or do you all have been on the call?
No. There are times where, and this may sound like a woo-woo thing for your audience, but for being a believer, follower of Christ and led by the Holy Spirit, I try to listen to the Holy Spirit on every call, to listen to the person's heart. And if I feel like they're really authentic and they just really need the time, like even the girl that was almost joining today, she says, I need to sort out my finances to see if we can make this work. Like she was seriously calculating, can I make this work? Can I afford this? Like I talked to my husband, and then her husband reminded her that he has a whole big surgery that they need to pay out of pocket. So timing was an issue. But one thing that you can find out if it's a smoke and mirror, if it's really a real issue is, hey, if money were not an issue, if time was not an issue, what does this all sound like? How is this all sounding like to you? Well, if money was an issue, I sign up right now. And then I would do a bit of money math. I said so in order to join this $10,000 program, you said your program is currently $2,000. So that's 5 clients. And you said your current close rate is only 20%. We can help you increase that. But say for 20%, if you have, let's say 30 people that get on a call with you and you're closing at 20%, you would have 6 new clients at 2,000. So that's 12,000, right? So you can pay your investment and make 2,000 in the first one or 2 months if you follow our blueprint. How does that sound? Like, oh, I didn't realize you can help me do that. I didn't understand when you reverse engineer it that that's how many clients I need and that's how many calls I need and my close rate. I mean, those are the numbers I gave you. So thank you for kind of making that clear. I think I could do that in the first month. So what do you want to do now? How do you want to move forward? I think we should get started. Do you have a payment plan? Yep. If you do a paid in full for the 10,000, I knock off $2,000 because I'm going to do a fast action bonus to help you save 2,000. And I'm going to add an extra one-on-one call with you just to make sure that you're accelerating your results because I'm looking for a case study because I don't have someone in your industry or your niche.
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
That makes it like a no-brainer deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you throw in those extras just to sweeten the deal right there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we've had this happen a few times. What would you do if somebody asked for a guarantee? Or if they say, can you guarantee that I'm going to make this amount of money or that it's going to work for me? If you write the guarantee and then I sign.
That's a really good question. And I've done it where I did a 2x ROI guarantee. So let's say it was a $10,000 program, then I would guarantee within 3 months, they would make $20,000. The one person in the first 30 days, they were coachable. They were taking massive imperfect action. They were getting on podcasts. They were doing their marketing. And after the 30th day, it just like MIA, cold turkey, didn't show up to calls. On my course portal, I could see they've only done 14% of the course. And then they went to Stripe to do a chargeback. And I made a guarantee saying, and she said, like, you said you were going to help me make 2x ROI. I said, yeah, that's in 90 days, not 30 days, right? 90 days. Okay. So she says, well, it's not working. Your coaching is not very good. It's not very effective and whatever, all this stuff. And she had all sorts of emotional, mental health issues. And that's a difficult thing. I'm not going to say it's you, like me and her, me against her. It's like, I have compassion as a faith-based Christian to say, let's get on a call and see how I can help you get your ROI and double that within the next 60 days. I'm going to work more closely and give you more proximity and go over and beyond to help ensure you do that. And if I don't do that, I will work with you for free until I do. And I don't want to work for you for free for the next year, okay? Because it doesn't help me grow and scale my business. So there's a selfish agenda for me to help you get 2x ROI and help you get the results. And I tried to get in a call with her and she was not willing to get in a call, didn't want to talk. And so I had to go to Stripe, and usually the customer is always right. And I showed them all the paperwork, all the percentages of the course, all the missing in action calls. And I won. I won the battle, which is, I'm not here to win. I'm here to help you win. I don't care about anyways. That's when I took out my guarantee. I can say I can guarantee that you're not going to get results if you don't show up and do the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And just like you, like, we don't do guarantees.
How about you guys?
Yeah. We don't do guarantees. We found that the people who really ask for the guarantees or really need that are just like you. They're typically the people who expect everything done for them. They typically are the people that just have the unrealistic expectations and they don't take action. I remember specifically we had one person who asked, it wasn't quite the guarantee, but it was, if your program is so good, how about you let me join for free? And then once I make my money, then I pay you. And I remember, yeah, it was like,
yeah.
So the way that we had to deal with that one was, and it was through an email. So we were able to just kind of think out a response. But basically what we said was, so in order for this to work, it's not all on us. There's also, action that you need to take. And all we can do is we can guarantee what we can deliver. We can't guarantee what you're going to do on your end. And here's the thing with our program is that we've got all these testimonials. We know our program works. We know our process works. We've done this hundreds of times with hundreds of clients through all sorts of different niches. So we know that our program works. We can guarantee what we can deliver on our end. What we can't guarantee is the action that you're going to take. So that's why we cannot offer any sort of a guarantee or let you get started for free. If we were in a situation where we were brand new and we didn't have all these testimonials and we didn't know our program worked and it was unproven and we were desperate for clients, then that might be a different story. But we're not. So you can either join, you still have a few hours, you've still got the rest of the day to claim the fast action bonus. You can join if you want, but if you don't want to, that's fine. There's plenty of other people that are in a more desperate situation that would probably take you on as a client. So it was very postured and he joined. He said, that's exactly what I needed here. I'm in. No guarantees or anything. Just that's all it took for him. But for us, it was just a matter of posture and just laying out the facts, because that's the thing with guarantees. There's always that second part of it where the client has to take the action. They have to be committed and they have to do it, because we're not going to do it all for them. There's no way we could. If we could do it, we would just build the business ourselves and hire them as a coach, right? What would be the point? So that's how we dealt with that. And I know that we've kind of had a few similar situations where we've kind of had to do the same thing too.
I had a client who I did bring on it like you guys, where it was free and then I pay you, and they were going to pay me 20%. And then they were struggling for a year. They were crying, and I let them in because I was like, man, I'm such a sucker for people who are like in need, and I'm a pastor and stuff like that. And then they weren't making any money because they're trying to find their offer clarity and product market fit, all that stuff. And then in the last, let's say 2 or 3 months, they ran a couple of 5-day challenges, I think 2 or 3 of them, and they made $40,000. And guess what? They owe me 20%, which is $8,000, because they're not paying anything up front or a monthly. And I waited like 5 or 6 months and they still didn't approach me. Either they forgot or they're unwilling to pay. And then when I had a one-on-one call with them, because I was like, this is ridiculous. And then they basically said, oh yeah, I literally today I was going to pay you. I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I had to come to you. You haven't paid me for like 3 months past when you made the money. So there's something not right here. And there was a coaching opportunity as a fellow brother in Christ, and he's not a believer, but I just said, listen, in terms of integrity's sake, more important than the money is the principle. And so right here, you actually broke my trust. And so he repented, and he was in tears and said, I am so sorry. And you made me a better man today. As difficult, I'm sure this conversation is not something that you want to talk about. 100% no. It's not my favorite thing to do. But he said, thank you for being a better man. And I was like, that forged a stronger relationship and a better client.
I think for a lot of people that would be so hard to do, right, is actually confront and say, no, I don't think that's really the case. It feels confrontational. And people are uncomfortable with that. Yeah. So, but I love that you do that. It's such a valuable skill, right? And something that doesn't come naturally. It's something you have to work on. I know that we've gone for quite a while here, and I'd love to talk all day about this, but I know that we're running into a time limit here. If people want to learn more about this, learn more about what you do, how you help people, learn more about your process, where can they go to find out more about this?
Yeah, I'm holding a live workshop on December the 5th, which is Thursday, December 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And your audience can learn how to create an irresistible Godfather offer that sells like crazy for a high-ticket business. One of my 71-year young clients wasn't able to monetize their prayer and prophetic ministry for 41 years, didn't make a single penny. And she actually had a 90% close rate on her last 10 calls.
Wow.
And made over $15,000. So
nice.
Not knowing how to use a computer, not knowing how to use Canva, not even having a Facebook account. Nobody that's listening to this podcast has an excuse, including myself. She went live for 30 days and created an irresistible offer together that sold like crazy. And she said, I have too many calls. I got too many testimonials. Jay, what do I do with all my time? And I'm like, just help people make more money. So she's actually traveling right now internationally because she made the money and is seeing her kids. So they can find out about the Irresistible Godfather offer in the link in the show notes, and it's free. And for a $47 upgrade, you can get an hour of power Q&A to ask any question that you have regarding your offer and anything in your business for that matter.
Awesome. Perfect. We will have the link for that in the show notes. And if people just want to check out your website, where is that?
They can go to www.gosalesninja.com.
Perfect. All right. And we will have that in the show notes as well. Jay, thank you so much for being with us. It's been great. I think our audience got just so much value out of this conversation. We loved having you on here today.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.